Deep Work by Cal Newport. A book that changed how I think about focus. What really struck me about deep work was how it named something I'd been struggling with for years, but couldn't articulate. Newport calls it deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks. And he makes a compelling case that this skill is becoming both increasingly rare and increasingly valuable in our economy. I found myself nodding along, realizing how much of my day I'd been spending in what he calls shallow work, those little tasks that feel productive but don't move the needle. This book didn't just diagnose the problem, it gave me a framework for fighting back against the constant pull of distraction. Introduction. I picked up Cal Newport's Deep Work because I was frustrated. Despite working long hours, I felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything meaningful. I was constantly checking email, responding to messages, and jumping between tasks. Sound familiar? Newport, a computer science professor at Georgetown, argues that we're living through a moment where two things are simultaneously true. Deep work is becoming more valuable than ever, and it's also becoming more rare. The ability to quickly master hard things and produce at an elite level is what separates the successful from everyone else. But our modern work culture, with its open offices, constant connectivity, and culture of responsiveness, actively works against deep work. What I loved about this book is that Newport isn't just philosophizing. He's done the research, and he practices what he preaches. The guy rarely uses social media, is almost impossible to reach spontaneously, and yet he's remarkably productive, publishing papers, writing books, and maintaining a life outside of work. His argument is simple but powerful. If you want to do work that matters, you need to learn to focus intensely without distraction. Summary. The book is divided into two parts, the why and the how. Newport spends the first section building the case for deep work, and honestly, it's pretty convincing. He introduces the deep work hypothesis. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At exactly the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a result, those who cultivate this skill will thrive. Newport identifies three groups who will succeed in the new economy: those who can work well with intelligent machines, those who are the best at what they do, and those with access to capital. For most of us, that means we need to either master hard things quickly or produce at an elite level. And both require deep work. What really hit home for me was his discussion of attention residue. When you switch from task A to task B, your attention doesn't immediately follow. A residue of your attention remains stuck on the previous task. This explains why I'd feel scattered even when I thought I was being productive. Newport argues that even brief distractions, just glancing at your phone, can severely impact your cognitive performance. He also takes on what he calls the metric black hole. Because deep work produces better results in the long term, but looks less busy in the short term, and because we have poor metrics for measuring knowledge work, we default to visible busyness. Responding quickly to emails feels productive, even when it's preventing us from doing our actual job. The second half of the book is where Newport gets practical. He outlines 4 rules for deep work. Rule 1. Work deeply. Newport describes different scheduling philosophies: the monastic approach, eliminating all shallow obligations; the bimodal approach, dividing time into deep and shallow periods; the rhythmic approach, building a daily habit; and the journalistic approach, fitting deep work wherever you can. I found the rhythmic approach most realistic, just blocking off the same time each day for focused work. Rule 2. Embrace boredom. This one surprised me. Newport argues that the ability to concentrate is a skill that must be trained. If you give in to distraction the moment you feel bored, checking your phone while in line, during a boring meeting, or while waiting for a web page to load, you're training your mind to never tolerate boredom. You're essentially weakening your focus muscle. Rule 3. Quit social media. Cal Newport doesn't mince words here. He argues that we've adopted an any-benefit mindset with network tools. If something offers any benefit, we feel justified in using it. But this ignores the costs. He suggests a more thoughtful approach. Identify your main professional and personal goals, then only use tools that substantially support these goals. Rule 4. Drain the shallows. Not all shallow work can be eliminated, but Newport provides strategies to minimize it. He recommends scheduling every minute of your day, not rigidly, but as a thoughtful allocation of time, finishing work by 5:30, fixed schedule productivity, and becoming hard to reach, by making people who want your time work harder to get it. One technique I immediately implemented was his suggestion to quantify the depth of every activity. How long would it take to train a smart recent college graduate to complete this task? If the answer is not very long, it's probably shallow work that should be minimized or eliminated. Conclusion: how this book could transform your life. Here's what I realized after reading Deep Work. I'd been complicit in my own distraction. I'd set up my life, my phone notifications, my work environment, my habits, in ways that made deep work nearly impossible. But Newport showed me that focus is a choice, and more than that, it's a skill that can be developed. Since reading this book, I've made changes. I schedule deep work blocks in my calendar and protect them fiercely. I've turned off almost all notifications. I've started keeping my phone in another room while working. And the results? I'm getting more meaningful work done in less time, and I'm less exhausted at the end of the day. What I love most about Newport's approach is that it's not about working more hours. It's about working better. He proves that by embracing deep work, you can produce better results and have a richer life outside of work. In a world that's constantly demanding our attention, the ability to focus deeply isn't just a nice skill to have. It's a superpower. This book gave me the framework and the permission to cultivate that superpower. And honestly, it might be one of the most practically useful books I've read in years. If this resonated with you and you want more insights on books that can transform how you work and live, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I break down one game-changing book every week, so you can get the key ideas without spending hours reading. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.